Man, I had two different lines that actually potentially won the game, and I blundered both of them because I went ahead and got the Vesuva too. Dang it, man. Hello, guys, and welcome back to match 5 with the list that you see on screen. We are currently 3-1, so doing very well, I would say, and hopefully we can continue to stay in stride with that. Yeah, I don't have much else to say. If you are not familiar with the deck list, then check out match 1. That's where I went into detail about the card choices and all of that, so I will not be going over that here. Yeah, I'll see you guys in the games. Alright, we have our match. We have a hand with Amulet, Dryad, and Titan, so that's pretty good. We're on the draw, and we don't have an untapped source for turn 1. This hand would be a snap keep if we had an untapped source. It'd probably still a keep regardless, but we're really hoping to see a forest off the top or something. See what our opponent's playing. Misty Rainforest, and pass. Okay. Potentially something slower and controlling. Engineered Explosives is not really the best top deck here. We'll play out our only land that stays in play when we play it, and pass it back. Glacial Floodplain, a foil. These look really, really weird in foil. So we're playing against a Bant Snow deck. Potentially have to play around Icefang Coatls. Interesting to note. Let's go ahead and drop our Forest and our Amulet here. Might as well play around, like, some kind of 1-mana counterspell. Not 1-mana counterspell to make us pay 1. Force negation, not much we can do about that. If our opponent had, for example, played a blue land instead of the Snow Forest, then they could have delved 1 for, like, a Logic Knot. So that's something you could play around by playing land first, but that's neither here nor there. Noble Hierarch, okay. So maybe our opponent is playing a more low to the ground, like Snowblade kind of deck. I am going to go ahead and drop a Growth Chamber here. Even if they feel to ruin our Growth Chamber, we'll still be able to play Forest into Dryad this upcoming turn, so might as well get a tap land out of the way here. Not really interested in committing this Explosives until we know for sure that we're going to be blowing it up, and what number. It could be correct to put it on 2. For Icefang Coatl, it could be correct to put it on 3 to blow up a Sword of Feast and Famine. It's pretty unclear at this point, so our opponent is holding up Cryptic Command or something like that here. Perhaps Spell Queller. That's another reason to Explosives on 3. Interesting. Well, we can play Amulet while playing around Mana Leak here, and if they choose to counter this, then we can slam Dryad, and they don't. So do we even attempt the Dryad or not? Kind of don't want to just let our opponent have a good target to Cryptic Command here, so I'm kind of inclined to just pass, but it does feel kind of awful. I guess next turn we can play Growth Chamber and be able to play Dryad into another 3-drop if we top deck it, or at least be able to play our Dryad around Mana Leak, so I guess it makes sense to pass here. Doesn't feel great, though. I mean, if our opponent's not using their mana, though, then we're pretty happy with this. They're bouncing our Amulet, that's fine. It might have been better for them to just cast the 3-1 there, to be honest, but... well, I guess they can do both. So, no big deal. So now they have a clock, which means we are going to start probably just putting stuff into play. There's the Feast and Famine. So now we know we want to Explosives on 3 and blow it up. In fact, that's probably what we'll be doing this upcoming turn. We can safely pitch one of the Titans here, although I suppose it doesn't play around Counter Magic. Don't really want to pitch a land, though, and we need this Explosives to blow up our opponent's threats, so I guess it has to be Titan. It could also maybe even just be the Dryad, but... I don't know. Dryad seems like a good card to have access to, especially as an intermediary threat before we try to get a Titan into play. I'm going to pitch a Titan here. It might be a little questionable, but... I mean, I think we need all of our land drops. I suppose maybe we could pitch Growth Chamber and then plan to just have 6 mana and play naturally and not need to use our Amulet at all. Or maybe even pitch the Amulet, but Amulet is what's going to let us cast Explosives on 3 this upcoming turn, so we have to untap all their lands, which is pretty unfortunate for us. We'll play the Amulet, I suppose. And it resolves. Alright, let's get a bounce land into play. And probably explore here. I mean, we could just slam the explosives and hope that our opponent doesn't have counter magic for it, but that seems like it's not really a winning strategy. Let's pick up the forest here, and we'll explore. Right, let's try a Dryad, I suppose, and if they counter it, then we don't really care that much. They don't. Alright. So we can play explosives on 3 this turn if our opponent just doesn't have any counter magic. I think we should. They're probably saving counter magic for a Titan, so... Path the Dryad. Well, let's float a red in response. This can go through. Get a forest here of the cool variety. Too bad we can't blow explosives after we play it, but I think we just pick up the Vesuva here, and then just pitch the Garen Brig to the sword trigger. That makes sense to me. Sad that we don't have enough mana to crack explosives also. This is the best that we got, though, so... Odd game to navigate here. Stoneforge Mystic. That one is pretty annoying. I guess they're getting Batterskull here. Yep. Batterskull is the card. Ice Fang, okay. Good to know about that one for sure, although I'm pretty sure the Snowland pretty much lets us know in advance. Alright, we'll pitch the Garen Brig as planned. Hopefully our opponent just slams Batterskull. And they do. That is great for us. What did this Teferi get revealed to? Or is it exiled? Oh, it's what they exiled to the Force of Negation. Okay. Okay, Summoner's Pact. So, we can Pact for Dryad, play Vesuva as a bounce land, pick it up, Vesuva as a Valcut, play Titan, and probably just kill our opponent. Unless our opponent has Force for the Summoner's Pact, which I guess we'll find out right now. They're not even holding up any interaction, so... Yeah, I'm pretty sure that Summoner's Pact just lets us literally win the game immediately. So that's pretty nice. Let's just send all the Valkyrie triggers upstairs. No need to get cheeky with it. We'll save targets. Always yes, always yield. Let's float our mana before we forget to do so. And we'll pick up the Vesuva. Play it as a Valcut here. This one needs to be auto yes also. Titan. Well, I really feel like we cheesed this win out. We'll get another Valcut. Yeah, our opponent concedes. That felt crazy lucky on our part, but you know what? I'll take it. Alright, so for this matchup, we're probably interested in explosives to deal with our opponent's swords and whatnot, and creatures, but I don't know, maybe it's not that great. In fact, maybe Dismember would be better. I think Dismember seems fine. Force is going to be good, and Beast Within, and Rex Sage as well. Tracker plays around Path a bit, which I like. Not sure about Veil of Summer. It's probably good enough, although it doesn't really play around Aether Gust. So I don't know about that. Veil of Summer seems odd to me here. I don't think our opponent is playing that much counter magic, but Veil lets us play around some amount of counter magic, except except Gust. So it's kind of weird. I don't think this gets around Spell Queller either. Nah, I think I'm going to leave Veil. Turn Timber seems like an easy way to get Mana Leech or Forced. Bojuka Bog seems pretty irrelevant. One Summoner's Pact can go, I think. Grazer's not looking great here. Although, getting a turn 2 Dryad seems pretty good. I don't know if it's worth keeping in Grazers for that line, though. Do we want more than one explosives here? It does hit noble hierarchs. Nah, I think maybe just running it this way is fine. I'm willing to submit like this. If our opponent was less creature-based, then I'd be more interested in Veil, but I'm expecting Aethergust more than anything else, so... This hand's not fantastic. If we top deck an untap source, then we can play Explore on 2. I don't know, it seems kind of slow, though. I'm gonna mulligan. Alright, well, we'd like to hit an Amulet with this hand off of one of these stirrings, but it seems pretty good, so I'm willing to give it a shot. That is if we hit an Amulet. I don't know, though. We've got multiple potential draws here, including, like, 3 drops, or Explorer would be fantastic as well. Turn 1 Stirrings, turn 2 Explorer would be pretty nice. Turn 1 Hierarch, okay. That is pretty good for our opponent. Another Titan. Not really what we were looking for, but we'll deal. Amulet. Yeah. Could take explosives. I don't know. I think you'd be pretty crazy not to take Amulet here, though. Pass it back. Stoneforge, okay. I wonder if they go for the Feast and Famine or the Batterskull here. I would imagine Feast and Famine, but we'll see. Batterskull. Alright, so they're trying to get aggressive. That's fine with me. Interesting. We don't know if we're going to need to keep this bounce land in hand or not. I suppose we can hold on to the Amulet, and if we do top deck a 3-drop, we can play Amulet into Growth Chamber and then play the 3-drop, so I'm just going to go ahead and cast the Explorer here. Alright, so we do have a 3-drop, but it's one that we have to pact for. I think we're supposed to play the Growth Chamber here and hope to hit another bounce land, or just any land off of our stirrings, but we'll see. Our opponent is obviously going to be holding up interaction, plus put Batterskull in play with their Stoneforge here, so not super surprised to see them just passing it back. Alright, so here I'm going to play the Amulet first to play around Mana Leak. And we have the option of pacting for Dryad, but I just don't think that's going to be worth it, so let's just go ahead and Stirrings here and see what we can find. We do get another bounce land, that's nice. And now we pass it back. We can cast Titan this upcoming turn. Don't know if our opponent will have interaction for it. They're going to put in Batterskull, of course. You see the same glacial floodplain. I don't like this particular, I guess, art style, maybe? I've heard that it translates better in paper, but, like, this just looks tacky to me. It looks like somebody messed up the print job. Maybe I'm just being too critical, but I don't like the new snow frame. Unfortunate. Let me know what you think about the snow frame. Like, this just... I don't see how this could look good to somebody, to be honest, though. Maybe if I turned on the foil animation, then it would be better, but... Anyways, our opponent's just slamming another Stoneforge, which is... That's totally fine by me. That means they're only holding up a piece of 2-mana interaction here, which I guess means that they have Aethergust, but still. We probably need to force them to use the Aethergust so they can't put this sword into play with the Stoneforge. Although they can always just untap Stoneforge, equip sword, so... I don't know. We're looking pretty rough this game, I would say. Alright, well, let's see what we top deck. Vesuva. Okay. So we can pack for Dryad, play Growth Chamber to activate Garenbrig. So, like, Growth Chamber, tap these 3, Dryad, play Growth Chamber again, activate, play Titan. I think that's the best that we have here. We have to hope that our Titan resolves so we can get some Valakut triggers as well. This also means that our opponent can't just path one or the other. They'll end up allowing us to either attack with Titan or get some Dryad triggers, so... Well, I suppose we're not actually triggering Dryad until we attack with a Titan, which is kind of sad, but at least we'll be able to trigger Dryad this upcoming turn, so I think we do have to go for the Dryad. I'm going to go ahead and play our land out. Let's see, we can... I think we should be picking up a Growth Chamber here. That way we can save Vesuva for a use with copying a Valakut or for playing as a bounce land and still have bounce land in hand ready to go. Our opponent gusts. Alright. We'll put Dryad on top, I suppose. Pass it back. Yeah, I think we're basically just dead at this point. Unfortunate. Our little plant token can't even block an equipped Batterskull token here, so... Looks like we're going to game 3. Actually, no, we guaranteedly can't do anything this upcoming turn because we have to tap out to our Sonus Pact. So let's just go ahead and scoop it up here. Yikes. Okay, so game 3. At least we'll be on the play. Do we want explosives? I'm still torn on this because explosives for 2 to blow up a Stoneforge is not that great. Maybe we want a couple of Grazers so we can try to get our turn 2 Dryad down. I could definitely see that. Maybe trim A Stirrings. And an Explorer, because they're a little faster than we can realistically be exploring. Yeah, I think that's about it. I just gotta be faster. Well, this would have a turn 2 Dryad if we had a Dryad. But it does have Explorer and Summoner's Pact, and it has Cavern to go with it, so I'm definitely keeping this. Turn 1 Grazer into one of these bounce land. Turn 2 Explorer is still fine. It's ramping at the very least. And if we do top deck a Dryad, then we can just play it on turn 2 thanks to a Crumbling Vestige, giving us an untapped source, quote-unquote, here. So, there's definitely a chance. We'll go with the Gruul Turf for no particular reason. I guess it might have been better to go with the Sanctuary, so that if we happen to have an extra white mana, we could search for Valakut and Slayer Stronghold the haste. So maybe we should actually have been playing out the Sanctuary here, but it's very small. Dismember for our opponent's Noble. So we can Dismember and Explore this turn, which seems pretty good to me. I'm going to start with the Explorer. Nothing, huh? Yeah, I think I'm into this Dismember thing. Pick up the Vestige. Might be cutting our opponent off of blue mana as well. Hopefully. Tapped Breeding Pool pass. Well, we're very glad to see that. Explorer is a nice pickup. 3-drop. Dryad. Let's go. That one's not fantastic. I was not anticipating drawing Stronghold. I guess we could have floated double green with these and left the red and the white floating so we could activate a Stronghold if we drew it, but actually we can still do that by playing Vestige plus Stronghold and then have Cavern into Titan this upcoming turn, so... You know what? I'm into the attacking value with our Grazer here. Probably worth it. Boom. 2 damage. Take it, opponent. This guy is not a defender. Just letting you know now. Take it. Pass it back. We've had our fun. If we wanted to be uber safe and play around Force, then we could pact on our opponent's turn here, so they can't force our Summoner's Pact by pitching a card. but then we get to tap out for one more turn and not be able to slam Titan immediately. We're probably just playing into an Aether Gust anyways, but I mean, at least if they gust something during this upcoming turn, then they're not able to flash in like an Ice Fang Quaddle or something. So, alright, let's start with the Pact. Alright, I mean, we could get Tracker here to get, like, clue value. Neither plays around Gust anyway, so I'm just gonna get the Titan. I guess we do want to play Cavern on Giant here, just in case our opponent is relying on a mana leak. It's definitely something that is possible. I don't think it matters if we leave up any colors and mana here, so I'm not gonna try. Can't be countered. Do you have the Gust? They do not. Alright, so we're gonna get blue mana to set up our Tolarios Transmute, for sure. So, like, a Growth Chamber makes sense here. Maybe Growth Chamber Breeding Pool. And then just pick up any other bounce land, perhaps. I guess that makes sense. We could also get Growth Chamber and Garrison and pick up the Crumbling Vestige and something else, so we can play Vestige and use it to make a blue to transmute Tolarios, and that way we have the ability to haste anything that we want going into the future. That doesn't seem bad, and we also get to keep a bounce land in hand. I'm gonna go with that. It's not quite as permanent, but that might be fine. So we'll definitely pick up the Vestige here. And then, I guess just the Sanctuary is fine. Pass it back. Let's see if you got the Path, opponent. Ice Fang Quaddle, okay. That one's cool. We can always get Sun Home to double strike through an Ice Fang, which is something that the Hanweir builds cannot do. On Thin Ice, our Titan. You got it. We could actually transmute for explosives and play and blow engineered explosives. Our opponent obviously doesn't have Force because they would have used it on our Summoner's Pact the previous turn. Stoneforge Mystic, okay. Sword. Alright. So let's not lose our Grazer to something stupid like a attack for 1. Not that it's doing a whole lot else, though, but at least might as well keep it around for a little bit. A little unfortunate we have to tap our blue mana here to pay for the Pact trigger. Maybe that's something that we could have thought about and what lands we picked up. But, we'll just live with it. A Khalni Garden. We can haste a plant token. How about that? Yeah, I mean, I'm doing it. Boom. +2/+0, Vigilance and Haste. Take 2 damage. Unless you want to trade your Stoneforge Mystic, which I'm very happy about if you do that. Feel free. Now we just pass it back. Our opponent gets to put a sword in here, and we'll just discard the Snow Forest. Again, holding on to our Vestige so that we can transmute Tolarios. Maybe our opponent has found a Gust. We could also get a Ghost Quarter to blow up the plains. They can't counter a Ghost Quarter for sure. Do we have Ghost Quarter in the deck right now? Nah, it's in the sideboard. Sad. Goodbye, Snow Forest. Cool and all, but gotta go. Toski, huh? So our opponent is playing the old legendary Squirrel. They get to draw a card whenever one of their creatures deals combat damage to us. Okay. I mean, if they're tapping out for this, I'm very happy. It's back to Force of Negation or Bust. They might have it, but I'm assuming we have enough mana to play a Titan here. Although, it may not be good enough just to get a Titan into play and attacking, even. Too bad we don't have Valakut ready to go. I mean, we're obviously transmuting Tolarios here, so blue. All right, so that means we're going to have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So we're definitely able to play a Titan after we do the transmuting thing. We'll have 1 mana up. Yeah, I mean, I think we have enough time to get a Titan into play. No force, please. Our Titan is going to line up another Telarios to potentially get explosives to clean some of this up. Or, potentially set up a Dryad. Either way. I think we just have to ignore Valakut and get Growth Chamber plus Telarios here. Our opponent has lost connection to the game. Don't know if that means that they closed out the game because they were scooping to our Primeval Titan, or if they just genuinely are not connected at this moment. So it looks like our opponent has rejoined. Perhaps their laptop died or something. It's definitely happened to me before. Alright, our Titan has resolved. So, yeah, I think we're getting Telarios and Growth Chamber here. I mean, we don't have to get a bounce land, actually. We can use Slesning Sanctuary as a land for turn. So we could potentially get Telarios and Valakut here. That way, if we draw a Dryad, it's still relevant. Yeah, I think having the Valakut in play is probably worth it. Now we pass it back, pitch this Garen Break to the discard trigger, and all is good. Our opponent says, crashed, sorry. No big deal, no big deal. Definitely will pass this back to our opponents. We might have it, we might not. We'll just have to see exactly what's going on here. Our opponent's activating Stoneforge again, which can't be good for us. Hopefully it's Batterskull and not another sword. Ugh, Fire and Ice. I mean, our opponent gets to draw 2 cards after they deal combat damage with this Ice Fang. It still gets killed by 2 Valakut triggers, considering Valakut is a colorless source anyways. But then they can just equip Double Sword to something else. So, I mean, we can't even block the Ice Fang. Might as well block the Toski, of course. And this one does have Indestructible in case that you missed it before, which I could definitely understand. This is not a very well-played card, but that's why I didn't block with the Titan. There's really no point. We'll just go ahead and yield to these triggers here. Opponent gets to draw a card from both the Toski and from the sword. Our opponent is playing the Squirrel Infestation over there. I'm surprised they didn't choose to kill our Arboreal Grazer. On thin ice. Okay. Yeah. Interesting. Noble Hierarch. I think Dryad off the top or Summoner's Pact would be our best draw. Because then we can transmute for explosives, play and blow it on 1, and get double Titan triggers. So our opponent is not holding up any mana here either. So they're just letting us know that we're good to do whatever we want. Alright, come on. Dryad or Summoner's Pact? Let's go. Dryad. Oh, we gotta pay for our pact. Let's go ahead and do that. Yes. Come on, Dryad or Summoner's Pact. That is neither of those things. Explosives on 3 gets rid of the swords and stops us from being dead immediately. It doesn't give us access to another Titan, however. I don't think we have another choice, though. I think the swords are what's killing us here. We'll end up taking 2 every turn from this Coatl and need to draw another Titan. Or a Dryad, I guess, would also be fine. Let's see, if we got Dryad here, we could then play 2 land drops and kill the something, but then they just double equip sword and we're dead, so that's probably not the line. Yeah, I think we just have to get explosives on 3 here. Assuming we still left the explosives here. We can't... no, I used the green. We don't have oh, we do have explosives. But we don't have the mana because I used the green mana to transmute. I wasn't thinking that far ahead. Oops. So if we play and pop explosives on 1, we can get Radiant Fountain. I mean, that's our only option here, so we do get to haste a Titan as well. Not quite. I guess we could get Vesuva copying the Crumbling Vestige to haste. Alright, well, this is our only plan now, so let's execute it, I guess. That was definitely a punt. Alright, let's leave the white floating, I suppose. Got some Titan triggers coming through. Alright, let's use the first one to get Radiant Fountain and Vesuva copying the Vestige. To be honest, we maybe needed to save the Vesuva to copy the Radiant Fountain a second time. Alright, let's go ahead and search here. Yeah, I think that we probably have no way to actually win here. Man, I had 2 different lines that actually potentially won the game. And I blundered both of them because I went ahead and got the Vesuva too. Goodness. Well, maybe our opponent won't see that we're dead to the Sword of Fire and Ice. Alright, I guess we're getting Bounce Land and Valakut to pick up the Vesuva here. There's just no way for us to get an additional point of life or anything like that. Alright, let's just pick up a Bounce Land here. I guess the Gruul Turf makes sense. And I think we're still dead. Goodness. Our opponent did say nice line in the chat, but I don't think that they knew the lines that we could have taken. Equipping Toski, okay. I mean, we can't block this one anyway, so we're just dead to the Fire and Ice trigger. We also could have just gained life with a second Radiant Fountain instead of getting Vesuva immediately to haste, but didn't do that. There's so many different things that we could have done to actually win this game, and then... It happens sometimes. Our opponent has pointed the sword trigger at us, so I think that we're just dead here. Dang it, man. Feels bad to have punted away a game. But anyways, hopefully you guys can learn from my mistakes. I have a common issue where I don't think quite far enough ahead. I always just think in the moment, and right as I was clicking the Vesuva, I was like thinking in the back of my head, like, I guess we might have needed to use this Vesuva to copy the Radiant Fountain, and we would have survived at exactly 1 point of life. I don't know if that would have been good enough to win the game, as we wouldn't have had a Titan attack, for example, but awful. Anyways, hopefully you guys can forgive me for my terrible mistakes. It happens to everybody. So, to talk about some potential changes to the deck list here, it's occurred to me since I put this list together that there's not a whole lot of reason to be playing Negate anymore. One of the biggest combo decks that Negate specifically was good against was Ad Nauseam, as you can counter, well, Ad Nauseam or their enchantments with Negate, as well as being able to bring it in against Storm and control decks. The card that I've been thinking about to replace it is Guttural Response, a green/red instant that says counter target blue instant spell. This will be good against the Gifts Ungivens, for example, against our Storm opponents or their Remans as well. But more particularly, this is a 1-mana answer to Aether Gust against the control opponent. It also hits things like Cryptic Command, but mainly this being effective interaction against Aether Gust that doesn't require us to have a splash color in play. Usually just even having a single green source up will make Guttural Response live. And that's something that's extremely good when you're thinking about facing these blue control decks, especially since we don't have to have an additional color of mana through Dryad or like having a Growth Chamber in play already to cast something like Negate. The only issue with playing Guttural Response instead is that we now can no longer counter turn 3 Karns against Tron. I don't know if that's a huge issue. We could solve some of this issue by playing an additional copy of Beast Within, for example, over maybe Veil of Summer. Maybe we just cut the Veil of Summers and play just 3 Guttural Responses and then have an extra Beast Within. We now have fewer cards to bring in against something mid-rangey, but I'm not sure how good Veil of Summer is even against the mid-range decks anyways, so F. Paulus has often said that he finds Veil of Summer to be extremely underwhelming, and I can't help but agree a bit with that stance, as oftentimes Veil of Summer is best just cycled at your opponent's instep, but it's not really worth a card slot if you use it that way. So maybe just having additional threats like Tracker and whatnot, and explosives to deal with Tarmogoyfs or Planeswalkers or whatever is the right way to go in that matchup, instead of trying to rely heavily on just having Veil of Summer in hand and being able to cast it when it helps you against your opponent. So maybe not the card of choice there. We could also bring the Ghost Quarter into the main board here, I do think, and potentially cut a land. Even the Breeding Pool I have not been super impressed with. We're not playing a fetch land to get access to it, and usually we can set up Transmuting Tolarios with our other blue sources in play already. It's also something that I'm thinking about potentially returning to Gemstone Mine, especially since the price of that card has dropped since the really ridiculous Cascade decks that were initially using it and bumping its price up to like 20 ticks or whatever have been completely removed from the modern format, of course, and so now that card is only about 10 ticks. I might look back into getting a couple copies of Gemstone Mine. I don't really know what lands we would cut for it. Maybe we could return to Hanweir rather than the Stronghold, although that does make our Titans a little weaker, and Titan's already a lot weaker nowadays without access to Field of the Dead than it would otherwise be, so I don't know if that is something that would be worth it. It's definitely something worth considering. I don't know, maybe moving the Ghost Quarter to the main board makes sense, maybe leaving it in the sideboard is fine as well. Let me know what you think, what changes you would make. I've also been extremely unimpressed with Turntimber Symbiosis. Overall, I can't think of a time where I've actually casted this card in the past couple weeks. To be honest, it's more often been good as a untapped green source, and I find myself sideboarding out Turntimber Symbiosis pretty often as well, so perhaps maybe cutting the Symbiosis and adding in the Ghost Quarter into the main board, freeing up a sideboard slot, giving us an additional spot to work with, maybe for an additional Stirrings, maybe for a second Cavern, maybe for a mainboard Tireless Tracker or something like that, a second Azusa. There's a lot of things we could do with that slot, a mainboard Pact Negation even, and also giving us some additional room to work with in the sideboard. I could definitely see that being something. Yeah, like I said, let me know what you think, and I have nothing else to say. Hopefully you enjoyed the match. We ended up 3-2 overall, which is pretty good. And I will see you guys in the next league. This is Redface Menace, signing off.